We buy these types of organizers so that we can keep track of little nuts and screws and all kinds of things that we want to keep a hold of. But what happens is we start having to organize the organizers when we're looking for any of those little items. And so how do we fix this? With a little planning and a few materials, we're going to come up with a solution that works so well. First, we measure the dimensions of our organizers: length, width, and height. I like to use SketchUp to make my project plans so that I can sort out any problems before I start to use any real materials. Once I have my cut list finalized, I mark it on my project panel and cut off the top and bottom of the organizer rack. Now I adjust my blade to cut only half the thickness of my project panel. This will make a slot in the back and sides of the rack before I cut them, ensuring the slots are perfectly aligned. Now that fits the hardboard perfectly. The hardboard will make shelves to hold each organizer. Now I check my measurements to make certain the organizer will fit in between the shelf slots. Now it's just repeating each measurement. Let's adjust the blade and rip fence to start cutting out the sides and back supports. This project panel has warped just a little, so I'm having to adjust the pressure against the board along each cut. The micro jig makes this easier. They're not a sponsor, I just really like cutting with it. Now I start to lay out the side and back supports, marking one side to keep the slots aligned. Now to check my measurements to cut the top and bottom supports to the correct length. This is pretty easy with a miter gauge and a sacrificial wood scrap. Now to check my layout once more to get my shelf measurements just right. This is when I realized that I need 4 back supports instead of 3, due to the middle hinge on each organizer. So I just cut the middle support into 2 pieces. Now it's time to cut the hardboard. I add wood to my rip fence since the hardboard is thin enough to slide under it. A few shelves to cut. And I can dry fit all the parts to see how the organizer fits. Perfect. Time for the glue up. Okay, not gonna lie, this was the hardest part of this project. What takes 36 seconds on this video took me 20 minutes in real time. That's why I really laid on the glue, because I knew that I was racing the clock to work while the glue was still wet. You do not want to let the glue start to set before you have connected all the parts. Okay, now to apply every single clamp in my garage. If anyone watching sees a better way to assemble this, leave a comment. I'd love to see how you would put this together.
Much later.
After the glue is dried and the clamps are off, time to apply the top and bottom supports. I'm drilling countersunk holes for the wood screws I'll be using. A little glue. And the screws I'm adding are mainly to help hold the glue while it sets. Now the bottom. Rinse and repeat. With screws, I'm going to reinforce the back and sides. I want this rack to be able to hold heavy organizers full of screws. It's time to add the upper half of the French cleat. French cleats are perfect for most anything you want to hang on a wall, and they're easy to move around if you need. I'm really applying the glue here since this cleat will hold the entire rack weight by itself. Clamping the cleat down at first, and then adding brad nails to simply give as much adhesion as possible to the glue. Did I overdo it on the brad nailer? Nah. With the bottom cleat already mounted, it's time to see this rack in action. There we go.